Life, Love, and Lipstick.
Welcome to Life, Love, and Lipstick with Lesley Stewart and Tracy Lynn. We are here again, and we have a guest joining us shortly, which we love when we have guests join us. But this one in particular, big topic. It's a major topic. We're talking about an addiction, and it's called sugar addiction, which guilty.
Yes,
I'm
me
guilty.
too. Me too. And the thing is, with sugar addiction, it can be something as that you think of the innocent sugars, like, oh, I only use maple syrup, I only have dried fruit and nuts, but it's sugar comes in every form and it hides in everything.
Yes, just to when you think that you're feeding your kids something healthy,
Yeah.
it's hidden on that label. Like you really have to be educated in label reading. And this morning myself, what happened? Well, I had
Yours wasn't
coffee.
hidden.
I had my coffee when I came home from work this morning. I had my coffee and I had a bowl of mini eggs. But yet I don't have sugar in my coffee.
Right. So you just had a side of sugar.
Yes. And I'm probably had more than what was the dose on the back on the label, but I felt like I needed it. So I feel like maybe I can understand how it could be an addiction because when you don't get it, your mood totally changes.
It does. And you know what? I think, some people have more addictive personalities than others. And I know I don't have an addictive personality, but I'll tell you, sugar is the one who gets me. It does. I have this association, like I have a coffee right now and I kind of want to have a little piece of chocolate and I'll justify, oh, I'll have dark chocolate with it. It's still sugar. I mean, it doesn't matter. Even if it's the healthiest snack on the planet, there's usually some kind of sweetness to it, right?
Yes. And then there's the withdrawal.
And then there's
the withdrawal.
Sure.
So this topic, I'm very, very excited for our guests because not only does it have to do with us as adults, but most importantly, what we're doing to our kids and what we're feeding them.
Exactly. So on that note, I'm going to bring in our guest. His name is Dr. Michael Corrin, and he is a professor of pediatrics at Children's Hospital in Los Angeles, the co-director of USC Diabetes and Obesity Research Institute, because we know those go hand in hand, and co-author of the newly released book, Sugar Proof. I have it here, The Hidden Dangers of Sugar That Are Putting Our Child's Health at Risk, and What You Can Do. So we're going to bring in Dr. Michael Corrin. And this is going to be an important conversation for us, Tracy. As you say, I think it's what we really need to talk about is what it is doing to our children's bodies, that we don't really think about the dire effects that it can have.
Connections between mentality and your gut and just how you perceive your day.
Yes. And not realizing, I mean, I think we know that we're not really supposed to drink juice, but our kids, we're thinking, well, we can easily go have water, but our kids want juice. And it's 100% pure apple juice. There's no added sugar. It's still sugar.
Yeah. So we're very excited. So we will, we'll just a quick break and we'll bring the doctor right on.
Life, Love, and Lipstick.
All right, so we will now join Dr. Michael Corrin, author of Sugar Proof. I have your book right here, Doctor, and so nice to have you on the show. And thank you so much for joining us because we do need to talk about this topic of sugar. And I think in general, we all kind of have the basic idea it's not good for us or for our kids, but maybe you could start off with telling us why and what exactly is it doing to our bodies?
Yeah. Great place to start. Thanks, Lesley. Thanks for having me on and for bringing Sugar Proof to the broader population. So, it's complicated, but I'll try to break it down. So, First of all, kids are born with this preference for sweetness. So they have this natural liking for sweetness. It was there because it was supposed to be protective from an evolutionary perspective. Favors breast milk, it favors seeking out good calories, but good calories today means 70% of processed foods in the grocery store, 80% of foods targeting children have added sugar. So we have this mismatch between how our bodies were designed, how our kids' bodies were designed for growing, and what nutrition is available to them today. And so they have this natural liking, and then because their bodies are growing in certain ways, it's more vulnerable to the sugar. Now, as you said, sugar is damaging, yes, but what the research is showing is it actually can be more damaging to kids with long-lasting effects because it can reprogram the different developmental aspects, or it can basically affect developing organs.
Wow. And there's so many myths and stuff out there. There's so many products that say like sugar, better than sugar. And I was always under the impression that a sweetener was better than sugar. But again, this is something that you talk about in your book, and you are telling us and you're breaking it down about the various types of sugars.
Yeah, I mean, so these alternative sugars that are kind of proliferating now, they're like a fool's gold. They sound good. Sweetness without the calories, perfect combination, right? But in fact, what studies show is that they can affect the body in different ways. These are different chemicals that are designed to be very powerful activators of the sweet taste receptors in the mouth, but not be absorbed. That's why they don't provide the calories, because they're not absorbed. That means that they just kind of stick around in the gut and can cause gut problems, or they're broken down into compounds. But also they kind of they trick the body, and and you end up eating more calories. So studies show even in children and adults who habitually consume low-calorie sweeteners, they're not thinner, they're not healthier. In fact, they eat more calories because they haven't kind of trained the body in terms of sweetness, and you end up just craving more food and getting hungry quicker.
Now, I guess it goes back to the day when, the diet soda came out, right? So everyone was like, great, this is amazing. I can still enjoy my Coke or Pepsi or whatever. And now it's diet. And well, they soon found out that they were just laden with chemicals, as you alluded to, right? So then you see people kind of switching back. And so people are like, okay, which one is better for me? Probably neither. Right?
But the one that's better is the one with less sugar. So I mean, so people don't think of diluting soda as an option, but let me talk about juice, which is just as much of a problem. But you can buy a bottle of juice and dilute it 50-50 and still enjoy it and save money along the way, and get half as much sugar. So I think, and that's our kind of our concept in Sugar Proof. If you're going to bake cookies or a cake, I wouldn't use monk fruit or stevia because I don't like the taste of it. No. So if I want to bake something that I like the taste of and I'm going to enjoy. So the answer is use a less processed sugar like coconut sugar, and just use less of it. You can easily, many recipes have way too much sugar. You can gradually cut that down towards 25, 30, or even 50% and still enjoy what you make. So I think that's the solution. We've been programmed to have a diet that's so sweet. Yes. And I think we can reprogram that. The 7-day challenge that we have in Sugar Proof is intended to reset that sweet taste preference back to a more acceptable level so that we can enjoy cookies that have half as much sugar, or enjoy a glass of apple juice that is half as sweet.
I'm looking at your 7-day no added sugar challenge, and then the 28-day gradual sugar reduction.
Right.
I'm reading this, but I'm going to be honest with you. I have this fear because I am addicted to sweet. Yes. I will have chocolate or a cookie first thing in the morning with my coffee. I just halfway through my day, I crave sugar. And I did do this where I did try to take it out of my diet, but I had the withdrawal symptoms, the headaches, the sweat, and this is a real thing. And
absolutely.
I can only imagine that if a whole family is doing this at the same time, woo.
But I guess it helps though, right? Because everyone's in it together. Throw out all the sugar and just try to get through it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. Sugar is addictive. You experienced it there, and you have very strong symptoms yourself. And I'm not going to trick anybody into saying that it will be easy. Those first couple of days will be difficult, and they will vary depending on how strong those addictive responses are. The first 2 or 3 days will be tricky, but our experience is that after those first few days, if you can get through that first few days, you will have major benefits. That's not to say you can never have your cookie in the morning or your piece of chocolate, because we absolutely want families to enjoy, but you have to break that cycle, and like breaking any addiction is tough. But it will be a couple of days, it will be tricky, but you'll get through it, and you might not even recognize your kids after. Now, if that is too tough, that's why we have 2 plans, because the 7-day cold turkey doesn't work for everybody.
Right.
So gradually cut it down. So, for yourself, Tracy, then tomorrow, if you're having 1 cookie in the morning, have half a cookie.
Well, it's almost like it's a mind game. It's not that I actually probably need it. And like we said, it is an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
I've been trained, and maybe it goes back to our childhood, because if you think about the juices that we used to have, the amount of sugar and stuff. I mean, we were drinking pop at a young age, where now we wouldn't even think about doing that with our kids.
Right.
But yeah, it is such a, like, everything is so connected. Your gut, your mind.
Yeah.
I'm going in withdrawal right now thinking about not having that chocolate.
Well, that's how strong those addictive powers are. You can, it's hard, even when you think about it, you want to go grab it.
Well, it's in everything. We talk about natural sugar. Fruit and vegetables have natural sugar. A glass of wine has a lot of sugar in it. So when you cut this out, is there a rule of thumb when it comes to foods that have it naturally and foods that have been added with sugar?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're mostly talking about added sugar. I'm not talking about natural sugars in whole fruit or in dairy products, but many dairy products will have the natural sugar from the lactose and added sugar. And
like yogurt, right?
Like yogurt is a perfect example of something with this like healthy, glowing halo around it.
Right.
But watch out for the added sugars. And this is a good place to start. In your case, Tracy, where you have difficulty in giving up those treats that you have, and maybe those are important for you, and you can, but what if you find there's all these other hidden sugars that you didn't even know about and didn't even need? So you can reduce sugar quite a bit that way and still enjoy those daily treats that you have. So focusing on those hidden sugars is really important. So, go look in your pantry right now at your peanut butters, your ketchups, your crackers, your bread that you buy, because you can easily substitute those out. Nobody's even going to notice that if you come home and switch to a new peanut butter with no added sugar, or a new bread without added sugar, and you can drastically cut down that way.
Well, it's funny you mentioned peanut butter. So I've only ever bought just pure natural peanut butter and almond butter. So my son only knew that. And he had one of those little packets one time in a restaurant. He's sitting there licking it. He said it tasted like candy, right? Like, I won't say the name brand, but we know, right? And it was, they put like icing sugar in it and that type of thing. And I'm looking at him and he said, it's like peanut butter candy. And I said, well, that's kind of what it is. So he noticed the difference because all he ever did was grow up with that. And actually, he said, well, the other kind tastes like real peanut butter, right? Like real peanuts. So, and I always used to cut his juice in half too. And, I was saying to Tracy earlier, before we got to you, Michael, that, I think parents do try to cut their juices in half and all that. And then kids get out of the little safe haven of your little bubble, right? And they get a chance to taste at full strength. And they're like, whoa. So that's where I think parents have a huge battle, is up against all the sugars that kids drink, right? Yeah. That's a problem. That is
and liquid sugar is particularly problematic. It's not obvious, but it's the way it's metabolized in the body. It's not just the amount of sugar, but how rapid it's absorbed. And with liquid sugar, it's coming in all at once. It's a massive influx in a bolus dose. And that rapid influx really is what leads to a cascade of problems that you don't see when you eat an apple, or if you eat a small amount of chocolate or something. It's liquid sugar particularly problematic.
And not good for your teeth either. Dentists are like, no.
And that's a good example. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, Lesley, because that's a perfect tangible example of what I mean by sugar, of kids being more vulnerable. And so
Yes.
the question is, why is it that kids get tooth decay from too much sugar? And it's because their teeth are still developing. It's not the sugar that causes the decay. The sugar promotes the growth of bacteria. Those bacteria produce acid. You and I are okay because our teeth are fully developed. It has all the enamel. Kids' teeth, when they're erupting, they don't have all the enamel fully yet developed. So those teeth are more vulnerable to the acid. And that's a perfectly tangible example of why children who are going through development, now think of a brain that's developing, or a pancreas, or a liver, or a heart.
Yes.
They're growing, they're building, and so they may not be fully yet resilient or protected from the sugar. So this is why.
That's a good point.
Let's talk about sugar, kids, and focus. We know that childhood obesity definitely on the rise compared to when we were younger. Actually, obesity doesn't matter what age it is. And I said, personally, you have that sugar, you get on that rush, but then you have that crash. And we know that kids, they love their sugar, no matter if they've been, if they had it or not. Is there a link when we talk about sugar, behavior, and ADHD? Because it's hard, like that sugar crash, and then they're going to school or they're having to focus.
Yeah, it's a great question. And the research is not that clear in terms of drawing a direct link in terms of cause and effect between sugar and ADHD. That is hard to actually show. But what we do know is that reducing sugar can improve the symptoms.
Right.
And what we do know, any parent, I think we're all parents here.
Yes.
If you ask any parent, they know that they've experienced firsthand the sugar rush and the sugar fall. So it's very real. It can vary. One kid might get it one day, the other kid the next day, and that's because the body's responses are different depending on what they ate, how much they slept, and so on and so forth. But you can certainly stabilize those energy levels and those emotions and the focus. And we've seen this with our 7-day plan. Kids are more focused, they're more balanced without added sugar or with stable glucose control. So how do you achieve stable blood glucose? And that is avoiding high sugary foods at breakfast and trying to keep those sugar levels more even throughout the day. That's what's going to correlate with being able to concentrate and focus and stay awake in school. We've had kids, for example, who did the 7-day no added sugar plan. Before that, they were having trouble staying focused in school, even in some cases falling asleep mid-morning, and now they're more focused, more able to kind of concentrate in school. So you can do that, not necessarily by cutting out sugar completely, but by changing your diet so that your blood glucose levels are more stable.
I guess with the marketing of cereals and all those fun snack treats,
Yes.
that makes it hard because we gravitate to the colors of the boxes. We gravitate to those characters. And when it's hard to say to a kid, you know what, that's not a good choice, because we grew up thinking bowl of cereal, either have some oatmeal, add some sugar to it, have some Nutella on a spread. It gives you energy. It's all bad.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I was in the grocery store just last week doing my thing, and I'm always kind of looking for things, and that's exactly what happened to me as an adult. End of the aisle, Captain Crunch, bright colors.
Yeah.
I had to pick it up. Well, I was it just jumped out at me. So I picked it up just to check it out. I think it was 15 grams of added sugar per serving. And the issue is most kids who are serving themselves might serve a double portion, so they're at 30 grams. That's
of course they will.
There's no such thing as portion control when it comes to children or teens.
But studies show, and there's a great study that randomize kids to either get a low sugar cereal in the morning or typical high sugar, your Frosties, your Captain Crunches. And what the study showed, but they also offered kids, bowl of blueberries, bowl of chopped fruit. Kids are perfectly happy on the low added sugar cereal and will actually they'll love the idea of like adding stuff to it. So here's a trick, instead of buying the high sugar cereal, get the low sugar, less than 3 to 5 grams of added sugar, offer it up with chopped fruit, berries, a bowl of flax seeds or chia. Kids love to mix things, right? They love to kind of make those little concoctions, and you'll really make an impact. You'll up the nutrient density pretty markedly of that cereal.
Well, I guess parents who, parents of really young children right now, we know as parents, we are responsible for what our kids are eating when we have that control. What we buy and bring into the house, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I always make sure like I put it on me. But if you're a young parent right now listening to this, they can make that executive decision to not introduce, pancakes with syrup and cereal into their kids' lives as their habitual breakfast, right? But instead, like try, if you are so inclined and you eat eggs, to have eggs and have like the proteins. Like my son loves, whole grain toast with avocado spread on it and eggs on top. Like that's his go-to breakfast. He doesn't even want cereal.
He's my man. I'm the same way because I love toast. I love toast, but I'll put something else on it, like exactly like avocado, ricotta, cheese.
Yes.
And if you're making pancakes, put an extra egg white in there, add some flax seeds into the mix, get up the fiber. Serve it with berries or plain yogurt. So there's these simple hacks that you can do to avoid those added sugars.
Right, because everyone loves a good pancake, right?
Absolutely, yeah, totally.
Now, what's the acceptable amount when it comes to sugar on a daily basis? I mean, I get natural versus the added, and maybe my 10 cookies should be like maybe 2. But again, it's my thing. I feel like I need it at 3:00 or halfway through my day. I'm like coffee because I don't do sugar in my coffee. I figure I can have that cookie because I don't have the sugar in my coffee that I drink all day. Is there an amount that we can have that is an acceptable amount for an adult? Because I know that children are very different. Their growing bodies can't really handle as much as what we eat. Is there, you make me feel good right now, maybe a little bit?
Well, yeah. Well, would a piece of dark chocolate work for you instead of?
Yes. So I have switched to dark chocolate.
So that's a great switch because you actually get some benefits from the dark chocolate with the polyphenols.
So good. There's some alternatives now. So maybe I'm inclined to do this 7-day. May take me 28 days, but.
Hey, it doesn't have to be perfect the first time. I mean, that's what we're all about. We're not, we're not a diet that this is your prescription. This is what you have to do. Here's your day. We know everybody's different. We know families are different.
But
we know kids all have their different preferences. So, it's very versatile and very flexible.
But it's amazing how much it affects you, either as an adult or as a child. And you always think you're doing the best or picking the best choices for your kid. But when you actually start reading the labels, and then you realize, okay, I'm not doing a really good job because I kind of knew that those fruit snacks that I bought you weren't the best choice, but it said it had real juice in it. It's amazing how much everything is connected. You can't sleep at night. I noticed that if my kids have sugar after a certain time in the afternoon, they are restless at night. I'm restless at night. But it affects so much, and it's kind of scary that all that is connected.
It's all connected. Look, we all got a lot going on right now in this world. I get that, and as parents, there's a lot to deal with. But these small changes can actually be of benefit. So if you can get your kids to be more focused, more concentrated, better health, boost their immune system. I mean, all these things also is another thing to think about. All these processed foods, the fruit snacks that you mentioned, all the added sugar, it's not good for the immune system either. So you can not only reset your sugar preferences, but you can boost your immune system too of your kids. And this is really important right now because Kids are the ones who are back at school, who are not eligible for vaccines.
Right.
It's kids back at school who are the most vulnerable right now for getting and spreading COVID. And the one thing we can do is boost their immune system. And we can do that by reducing sugar, reducing processed foods, and getting more actual real foods in. So instead of the fruit snacks, buy an apple, chop it up, squeeze it with lemon juice if you're worried about it going brown.
Yeah.
But you know,
Frozen fruit is great. Chunks of frozen fruit in a lunchbox will work just as well as a fruit snack.
two things that just popped up. One, why are companies allowed to put this hidden sugar in there and it just be okay? And two, you talk about healthy eating versus that quick snack. It is a really sad world that we live in, that it costs so much to have such a healthy grocery bag compared to just picking up those quick snacks.
Yeah, those are two great questions. I don't have great answers for them. You know, first of all, I think there's ways to do it that's not expensive. And there's some simple hacks, like I just mentioned, but you know, frozen fruit works well. You use them in smoothies, use them just as a chunk of frozen fruit in the lunchbox, and kids will like to munch on that. So I think there's ways to do it that aren't expensive. Why are food companies allowed to do it? I don't know. This is we've accepted it as normal, unfortunately, and I'm on a mission to try and change that. I don't think the government in the US is not going to address this. Food companies themselves are making token efforts, but they're really not going to go all the way. So I think it's all about education and information and just making sure families everywhere are informed and have simple hacks and simple strategies at their fingertips to get around this issue. And that's my mission. I'm not relying on food companies to voluntarily make a change. I'm not relying on the government to suddenly put regulations down for food marketing. I think as parents, we're responsible for our own health and our kids' health. And we have easy ways to do that. That doesn't necessarily have to cost more money. It might cost less money and it might save you money in the long run.
Well, that's the thing. So these little kids that are addicted to sugar end up growing up to be adults who are addicted to sugar, as we've been alluding to, right? So, I noticed in some of your notes in the book, Michael, that, talk about a big conversation these days, always, of course, about cancer. And we hear that sugar can almost like feed cancer, but also Alzheimer's and dementia is just in like the forefront right now. And, it seems like there could be some correlation there for people.
Yeah, there's definitely studies coming out now showing links, associations from epidemiological studies of long-term consumption, not just of regular sugar, but also the sweeteners that we talked about being associated with cognitive decline. Not quite sure what the mechanism is right now in terms of the studies there, but the links do exist. The evidence is there. So yeah, you can definitely improve not just health during childhood, but long-term cognitive health and physical health through adulthood and into the elderly as well.
Just knowing that sugar just isn't, our bodies just don't need a lot of it. Right. So finding some level of control, as you say, trying your challenges to just at least reduce what we're consuming.
Yeah. I mean, because in reality, these negative aspects they're in the extreme. So we're not saying everybody has to come all the way down to, the recommendations are 10% of calories or less. If we can get, we're talking about these effects happening from people who are at 20, 30% of calories, multis. So wherever you are on that spectrum, you'll get benefits from reducing sugar. So I'm not saying there's a magic number you need to aim for. We just need to kind of reduce and titrate it down and get used to a less sweet diet.
And your book helps us, give us that tool set to start this journey. And you also have recipes in this book. Am I correct?
We do, yeah. My co-author, Emily Ventura, Emily was a graduate student in my lab. She worked with me for many years, and then we've stayed in touch. She's a great writer, and she's also a recipe developer. So we challenged ourselves to develop recipes with 0 added sugars. And that's not to say you have to do that all the time, because I don't. We're baking stuff. We just use less sugar, like I mentioned. But the recipes in the book have zero added sugar. That could be cornbread with zero added sugar, blueberry muffins that actually taste of blueberries because they're sweetened only with the blueberries and some banana. So there's ways also to bake and cook without added sugars. And it's not just baking as well. These are also, we're looking at ways to get kids excited about high nutrient dense vegetables like red cabbage crisps, which I challenge you to make them, and you're going to love
I want to
them.
make those. It's funny you brought those up. Like, who would have thought? Cabbage.
Yeah, such an underrated vegetable. It's so cheap as well. I mean, you can buy a head of cabbage for $1 or something. And it's, I mean, ordinary cabbage is okay. Red cabbage is even higher in nutrient density, anti-inflammatory effects. So it's all about increasing fibrous vegetables, colored vegetables. They tend to be nutrient packed. Very simple. Chop up in ribbons the red cabbage, toss it with some olive oil or oil of choice and salt, roast it, and it's delicious and high nutrient density. So
Simple.
We're not just about reducing sugars, we're also about flipping that paradigm of reliance on processed foods to using more whole foods, because those tend to be higher packed nutrients, which are going to be anti-inflammatory, improve gut health, and so on.
Yeah, I love that you're telling us what to do and how to become a healthier person. And it's great for not just us, but for our family, because it's a family project. But I think the best part is not only are you telling us, you're giving us alternatives in this book. So it's a pretty jam-packed book, it seems like. I mean, definitely I'm going to try, and I'm going to try, and I will. And I know I'll be fine, but probably best to do this on a Thursday. So when I start feeling the effects, I'll be home and I'll be great to go for a Monday.
Well, just start small and make small changes. Get your kids involved if they're around, if they're at the age. I think that's important too. We talk a lot about getting kids involved in the process of deciding what to eat, when to eat, involved in the kitchen, because that's going to kind of make them more invested. So how you talk to your kids about this issue and how to get them involved is also very important. And again, I've read so many diet books, and what disturbs me is they assume that you're going to go on a pre-prescribed diet, that it's going to work for you.
Yes.
But I don't assume to know what's going to work in your house, Tracy, or your house, Lesley, because you have different issues going on. So you have to take what you've got and apply these principles to your own particular family and make them work, and start wherever you can.
Well, I know I think, for some people, cold turkey works better, right? Because they're not near it, and as I had mentioned before, Mike, before you came on, is that, with, say, somebody has an alcohol addiction, they can literally just cut it out with, some assistance perhaps, and they're not near it. But with sugar, it's in like everything. And so we're always being tempted by that little bit of sweetness by something. So it's hard to just stop it sometimes, right? Where, weaning off may be a little bit easier for people, as you say, just slowly cut back just a little bit. I know both my parents used to put sugar in their coffee, and neither of them do now, because over the years ago, they just cut back from the 2 teaspoons to 1 to half out, right? And then you kind of don't see it.
Yeah, and that's the 28-day plan was designed for that kind of approach. And again, you're just going to choose 3 or 4 usual culprits wherever they are. Sugar in your coffee, juice in the morning, candy every night. Just picking a few around. Gradually cut down the sugar, gradually dilute the juice down, and candy maybe at weekends or a couple of nights a week, or just less of it. Again, we're not saying you have to give it all up. So whatever reductions you can make are going to have benefit.
This might be a good video for me to do so you guys can see the withdrawal and what happens.
Well, do you like the day in the life of Tracy?
Yes. And
Yes, tune me in. I'll
will.
be there with you. Yeah.
Because it's not that I have a lot, but you feel like you just know it's a clockwork.
Yeah.
3 o'clock. I
But
want
it is Thursday. It is Thursday. You said you were going to do it on Thursday.
I know I should.
Today is Thursday.
That's right. Yes, you did.
Yep. And I hear that there's a great selection for organic, no sugar wine. So maybe I just need to dig a little bit deeper when I go to the liquor store.
You have to. Well, see, in the States, they have like the dry farm wines and that, right? Yeah. So there's, they're not adding all those piles of extra sugar and that. So there are ways. It is difficult. And I think we all have that. I do as well. I have my own sugar. I feel the same as you, Tracy. Sometimes I got used to the habit of having, even if it was like a little healthy little energy bar in the morning, it still has honey or maple syrup or something in it, right? With my coffee. And then the afternoon, I feel the same. I'm drawn to, I think I'm going to have a coffee. Oh, what should I have with it? Mm-hmm. And that's the accompaniment sometimes, that feeling of cozy, the emotions around it too, right?
And that's important. I mean, I think especially nowadays, self-soothing and self-comfort is very important. So we don't want to take that away. I think that's vital right now. Mm-hmm. So we have to balance it as well. And that's so important.
Yeah. Where can somebody get access to your book? Because obviously we've just proved it. This is something that everybody needs. We're still fresh into a new year. So any intentions or resolutions that people have put out for January, this is a perfect time. We're heading into spring. We want to get fit. We want to get active. We want to get our summer bodies on. And a lot of it has to do with that sugar waste. So where can somebody go to get your book?
Yeah, well, Sugar Proof is available anywhere books are sold, in actual bookstores or virtual bookstores, a Kindle audio format. And you mentioned that, but actually we are doing a campaign right now. I know we're doing a community-wide group effort for a 7-day challenge. We want to get as many people signed up. Emily and I are going to be available for support. We're going to have a private group to support you. And so this will be the first week in May. We're signing people up now. We'll be kind of advertising that on our social media at Sugar Proof Kids. And the goal is just, as you said, it's spring. It's a new time of year. Good time to kind of make these changes and get into spring and summer with no added sugar. So join us.
Great. That's a great idea. And you're very active on social media. I know your Instagram page is awesome and you have live video and all kinds of posts that will really help people. So again, at Sugar Proof Kids, and that your book is great. You can open it on any page and it's just like cool reference. So yeah.
Let's do that. Let's do that now.
Okay. Ready? You open up. What should I open to? See, I just opened to recipes. And again, the recipes are fantastic. So it helps.
Which recipe did you get? Which one do you open at?
Okay. Well, I'm at the, you know what I'm at? I'm at actually the 7-day challenge meal plan. That's what I'm at. So it's got the lists of, what you could choose from the recipes to incorporate into your meal plan. So that's where we're talking about how Tracy was saying, you're not only teaching, but you're also, giving people the ability to implement, right? The idea.
Actually, if you do buy the book, we're also giving away, we have a bonus, we have a supplement to the 7-day plan. We do have a lot of information in the chapter, but we also have a bonus that we're giving away that gives you even more details, detailed recipes, detailed eating plan, grocery lists, and so on.
Okay, so I feel like I've just joined your squad. I'm Tracy, and I'm addicted to sugar. I'm going to buy the book. And I will vlog it for sure.
Sign up. Yeah. So send anybody who wants to sign up, send an email to hello@sugarproofkids.com and we'll put you on the list. That's all you have to do.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Michael Corrin. And thank you to Emily Ventura, as well as you say, for adding these amazing recipes and the two of you coming together to create a book that will help all of us and help our children's future. So thank you so much for joining us today.
You.
Thank you, Lesley. Thank you, Tracy, for having me on and for bringing this topic to your audience and making people aware of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Life, love, and lipstick.